Today I'm going to have a bit of a rant about so-called smart motorways. Not so smart if you ask me. And on the M3 at the moment, where we are now, actually there's a unusually high amount of work going on for once. The M3, as we are now, is being upgraded to a smart motorway between junction 2, I think it is, which is the M25, up through to 4A, which is Fleet. It's about 13 and a half miles of motorway, and this is what it looks like at the moment. 50-mile-an-hour restricted speed limit, with narrow lanes controlled by average speed cameras, both northbound and southbound. And this work started back in November 2014. So it's already been going for a year and 4 months, 3 months, year or 4 months, something like that. And believe it or not, this work is scheduled originally to go on until what they describe as spring 2017. That kind of, you know, it irritates me the way the Highways Agency, who actually are an unelected yet bureaucratic quango. Yeah, they're supposed to be responsible to the Transport Minister, but actually, yeah, it's another one of these typical national quangos where no one seems to care. So the Highways Agency, I hate this, they always do this. They'll put on roadwork boards, yeah, roadworks until spring or summer or autumn. I mean, why they have a project plan? Why not put on there until June, July? Yeah, spring. It gives them that flexibility straight away to do that whole thing of, oh well, this is our target, and if it slips a little bit, well, yeah, that's just life. You know, sod the fact that it inconveniences millions of motorists. So yeah, this is originally scheduled to go until spring 2017. So, let's see, November 14, 15, 16, 2.5 years of misery and roadworks here. But all of a sudden, I read yesterday that they've now realised that once they've done all the upgrading works, which we'll talk about in a minute, they've realised that actually they're going to have to do a bit more work than they originally forecast. And so, under the pretense of, and it will save us money to do it concurrently and appoint the same contractor, this is now going to go on until the summer of 2017, an extra 3 to 4 months. So what are they doing? They're creating a smart motorway. What is a smart motorway? Well, most motorways in Britain are 3 lanes, some are a bit more, but it's about creating an extra lane of traffic via the hard shoulder, which you're not normally allowed to use, controlled by gantry speed signs. So once this smart motorway is up and running, there'll be, a bit like the M25, you'll have gantries across every God knows how long, saying use hard shoulder when it's congested, and with a variable speed limit. So effectively what they're doing is they're going to bring in a variable speed limit, which of course will be enforced and monitored by speed cameras, and widening the motorway, effectively creating an extra lane by using the hard shoulder as and when it gets really busy. Now, do you know what? I think the principle of a smart motorway is absolutely spot on. Whoever thought of it, genius. Yeah, I'm all in favour of variable speed limits as well, to suit the different times. Great. But, yeah, is it really worth the amount of money it's going to cost? I saw some figures saying that it costs anything between, I think, 3 and 15 million pounds per mile to convert a road to a smart motorway. The total cost of this project was between 120 and 200 120 and 198 million pounds. Pretty wide contingency. I do know that Balfour Beatty got the contract for doing this, and the contract was about 150 million pounds to do the contract. And having read about this further delay of works they've got to do, which they've now realised that once they've done all the smart motorway, they're going to have to resurface the whole of the carriageway, not just the bit they're doing works on. Really? No shit, Sherlock. Yeah, whoever didn't know that at the beginning, well, God knows. So much for traffic engineers. That's going to add about an extra 30 million onto the cost of the project. But, I mean, we've been riding along here, and as I said this morning, it's more active than it normally is. I think I've seen, oh wow, there's another one. That's almost double the number of men out working. We've seen what, 10, 15 men out working? Or men or women, whatever. 15 people out working so far on this stretch. And I've joined at junction 4, so the one just before Fleet, and I'm going all the way through to where this ends, and going on to the M3. Carrying on the M3 once it goes past the M25. Oh look, there's another couple of men over there. Man in a digger, man with lorry with flashing lights. But do you know what gets me on this is this has been in for so long, and part of the reason why it's taken so bloody long to do this work is because there is hardly ever anyone working on this thing. If you go and have a look on the I think it's the Highways Agency website, where they list all the roadworks that are going on, and incidentally, this I think is the second longest continuous stretch of roadworks in the whole of the country. If you go and look at the Highways Agency website, there's a little thing on the right hand side that I saw saying, oh, click here for a video of our people hard at work on the M3, and a little caption saying, you know, often people say they don't see people working on the motorway. That's because we do a vast majority of our work through the night. Yeah, and that's how it bloody should be. And it shouldn't be just doing the vast majority of the work through the night. It should be doing the work 24/7. Why can we not do this as a country? Yeah, we need to do roadworks, okay? That's important, you know, road maintenance, whatever it may be. But you put in the roadworks, as you do, and you get the people in, and then you work in shifts 24/7. You use every maximum hour to make sure you do them as quickly as possible. And also, why do you shut off 13 miles at a time when there is no way you're going to have people working on that 30 miles? Yeah, if they were going to employ so many people that they had everyone working on a bit at the same time to speed it up, great, I understand that. But they don't. So why not break it down into smaller chunks and roll along with it? You start at one place, roll along, do all the work, finish those bits of roadworks, roll it into the next one. Other countries do it. I'm sure I've seen it in the States. You would save on the number of cones that you need. How much plant do they have to hire and is just sitting idly by, not being used on a daily basis? It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. That way you cut down on the misery for motorists. So what are the problems with a smart motorway? I think you have to look at why are they introducing a smart motorway here on the M3 between these junctions? And I think the reason they're doing it is because this is one of the more heavily congested stretches of the M3. I mean, normally, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, on a weekday, this is nose to tail crawling along, and I'm having to filter. I think because it's slightly later, and also, as I said, it's the day before Good Friday, the start of the Easter Bank Holiday weekend. That's making a difference. And it's actually quite nice riding today without too much traffic. So I think they're introducing it because it's one of the most congested parts of the M3, and they want to create extra capacity on our road network. Again, a very laudable aim. And they're going to do that by bringing in a smart motorway. So, as I said, that means increasing an extra lane by using a hard shoulder, controlling variable speed, enforced by speed cameras. Not generally got a problem with any of that. But has anyone looked at the reasons of why we need more road capacity? And straight away someone will go, well, that's obvious, we've got more cars on the road and more people using cars, and so therefore we need to create more capacity. And that's true, but actually I think there is a very strong argument to say that as drivers we do not utilise the existing road capacity well. And you only have to look on any motorway anywhere in the country to see what I'm talking about. And that is just poor bloody driving. People sitting in the middle and outside lane, not using the inside lane. You see it day after day, sitting at 60, 65, or even at 70. Just perched here, right in the middle of the motorway, and the inside lane being totally and utterly clear, and not using it. And it gets even worse in rush hour. People hog the lanes even more, and they sit far too close to the car in front of them. People drive like they're driving through their local high street and maintaining a similar sort of distance, having no thought for the increased speed that they're doing on the motorway. And so what happens is, the moment anyone dabs the brakes or lifts off the accelerator, the person behind is following so close that they have no choice but to have to brake themselves rather than being able to just ease up off, let the distance increase a bit and roll back on again. And what you get is that chain reaction of everyone then braking, lights, and because that goes through progressively as it goes back through the queue, people having to brake harder and harder, and it has this chain effect going through, and you end up creating traffic jams because everyone slows right down, that it almost, well, it does on many occasions, bring traffic to a stop. How many times have you been on the motorway where there's been traffic and you're thinking, been an accident, something, you roll along, and then all of a sudden there's no incident or anything like that, and the traffic just speeds up again, and that's what that is caused by. So actually a lot of our congestion is caused by poor driving, poor standards of driving. Nothing to do with the number of vehicles on the road. It's about the vehicles that are on the road already not using the road space that there is and not being disciplined enough to do it. And so I would argue that whilst increasing road capacity is important, I think the priority for the government should be educating and improving the standard and quality of driving on our roads. So you think this project let's say it does run to the absolute maximum of what their estimates are, so nearly 200 million quid for the M3 here. Right? 200 million quid. How far do you think 200 million quid would go in terms of driver education, driver training? It'd be massive. I think that sort of money would make a significant impact on driver education. Which brings me on to the actual driving test. Yeah, when the driving test was first introduced, God knows when that was, but I don't think there were any motorways in the country. Or if there were, it was a very different time with very different cars and very different traffic on the road. There is no requirement whatsoever for anyone to do any training on a motorbike. You're not allowed to go on a motorway as a learner, and then the moment you pass your test, you're allowed to go on motorways. I mean, what kind of sense does that make? Yeah, it's a completely different way of driving. Yeah, and people are clueless. Yeah, they drive on motorways as if they were driving on, as I said, through their high street, on a 40 or 50 mile an hour dual carriageway. Yeah, people, frankly, don't look far enough up the road on motorways of what's happening. So much of the congestion, the braking, everything like that could be avoided just by people looking far enough up the road, seeing that cars are braking, easing off, adjusting their speed, and not wanting to create that chain effect. So in my view, motorway, you shouldn't be allowed on the motorway until you've had some form of formal training and testing. So I think you've got to introduce motorway into the formal test, driving test. Now you could do it in a way that, there are some people in the country that don't live anywhere near a motorway, would never ever use a motorway, or could get on a motorway. That's fine. So you have a license that means, as it currently is, you drive where it is, but means you can't go on motorways, and then you have an extra component or something which allows you to travel on the motorway. So, like we have different classes of bike license, unrestricted category A, and A1 and A2. Well, why can't you bring in like a B1 or a B2 or something like that, which means you're allowed to drive any car on any road except motorways. So those that do want to use motorways and can do, I wouldn't even have a problem in having it as a separate thing with a separate cost. Actually, once you've done your driving test, you then have to do a bit more and do a half-hour, 40-minute test on a motorway to get your motorway privileges. Right, if that's what it takes, fine. Got no problems with that whatsoever. But it can't be right in this day and age to allow someone who passes their test at 10 o'clock on a Monday morning, that by half past 10 they could be tearing around the M25 at 70 miles an hour. Just madness. And I think the whole driving test needs to be looked at again. I think there are too many people on the road who shouldn't be, who are a danger not only to themselves but other road users. I think the test is too easy. Driving has been a great asset to social mobility, to allowing people to live in different places far from where they might work. That social mobility is fantastic, and we shouldn't want to cut that back, because that's a real positive. But at the same time, my parents always used to tell me that driving wasn't a right, it was a privilege. And I think that's a really good thing to remember. So I think the driving test needs to be toughened up, needs to be made stricter. I would be in favour of mandatory retesting every X number of years, I don't know, or particularly as you get slightly older and your reactions get less. I think that'd be a really good move. And the other thing that I think needs looking at are our speed limits, and particularly our motorway speed limits. There is an ever-increasing trend to lower and lower our speed limits. And there was talk on that stretch of the M3 to lower the speed limit from 70 miles an hour to 60 miles an hour. Why? Not for safety grounds, too many people dying and we need to do that? No, not that. I'll tell you why. To cut pollution, for environmental benefits. Because we were going to, the powers that be were worried that we wouldn't meet EU targets. Now, I'm not going to go into the EU, which is quite topical at the moment. Maybe another day. You could almost understand, though, if it was for safety. But no, for pollution. So there's an ever-increasing trend to lower our speed limits on all our roads. But actually, personally, I think that 70 miles an hour is too slow on our motorways these days. Oh look, they've got the average speed cameras up. I thought they were replacing, here's these markings on the road. I have to be careful around here. So 70 miles an hour I think is too slow. 70 mile an hour speed limit was brought in 60s, 70s, something like that. Certainly before I was born. And I think, if I remember, that it was originally brought in during the fuel and oil crisis back in the 70s. To conserve as much as possible. And then it was never ever taken away. It was deemed that this was a good thing. And you have to say, perhaps all those years ago, 70 miles an hour was a sensible limit. I mean, you think about it. Safety on vehicles wasn't as it is. Stopping distances were much greater back then than they are now. Most modern cars can stop in about half the distance that a car of the early 70s could stop in. ABS, new materials for brakes, better technology in terms of tyres offering more grip. We now use grippier road surfaces in a lot of places, particularly coming up to junctions. I mean, there's a whole host of things that have improved safety and cut things back. And also back in those days, 70 miles an hour was quite some speed. Technology has moved on. Cars are more solid. They're more capable. I think now, today, and I might be wrong on this, and I'm very happy to be corrected if I am, but I think today that you can go in to any car showroom dealer in the country and buy a car and it will be capable of hitting 100 miles an hour. There are some that will do that very easily and some that you'd have to really wring its neck to, but I think that virtually every single car on sale in the UK today would be able to hit 100 miles an hour. That's amazing. And with that, surely then you've got to look and review your speed limits. I mean, statistically speaking, motorways are the safest roads in the country. And I would all be, I know there's been a debate on this, but I would all be in favour of raising the motorway speed limit to 80 miles an hour. Most people travel at that speed anyway. The police don't really enforce above 79, 80 miles an hour. So, I think national guidelines are still 10% plus 2 miles an hour, which is 79 miles an hour for a 70 mile an hour limit. But so yeah, I think 80 miles an hour would be, I'd be all in favour of that. And I do quite like the French system, where that if it's raining, the maximum speed limit is reduced. Well, we could do something similar here. And I've got no issues either with the variable speed limits in places where there is traffic congestion and stuff like that, that we do bring down the speeds to less than that and peak hours. I'll tell you what, I think you get far more people observing the speed limit and making progress on the roads that way. You wouldn't get this ridiculous scenario where you're driving along and you might be doing 75, 80 miles an hour, and you see, it doesn't even have to be a police vehicle, you see one of these Highways Agency traffic officer vehicles, which I still have no idea what they're there for. I'm sure they're just there to, if you get a flat tyre, to put some big flashing lights behind you and say, oh, but they don't bloody help you, do they? Or ring a recovery truck or whatever. I don't think they've got any powers of enforcement. And even one of those, you get people coming along, and all of a sudden you see it, they think, oh, it's a car with, reflective Battenberg all over it, it's the police, and I must slow down. And not only do they slow down from their 75 miles an hour on their speedo, which ironically they're probably not breaking the speed limit, they're probably doing 70 or under, because most vehicle speedos overread. Why do you think we have that 10% rule plus 2? Well, not rule, guideline. So yeah, they do, and they come down, so their speedo is then reading an indicated 65 or 70, which in reality is down at 60, and they're still sitting in the outside lane with no discipline whatsoever, and it just causes chaos again. So yeah, no, I'd all be in favour, I think, and you'd link that with improving driving standards, putting money into more training, making the tests a bit harder. So there you have it. That's what I think about smart motorways.